Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel called Zuzanareacts, where I learn all things Barat with your help, and I just share my Slovak Central European point of view. Now, in today's video, I have been shared a video on why the West is questioning achievements. I actually just watched it, and I feel so fired up that I have to shoot this video. I don't know how I'll be able to hold myself towards the end to comment, but I will just try to get my points across. But before we get into this video, please do like, share, and subscribe, and let's roll the clip. I just could not believe what I was actually watching, to be honest. So it's not long, but I think I will be speaking for a lot.
Let's start our next story with a cartoon. It's from the New York Times. It shows two men sitting inside a room. It's called the Elite Space Club. One of them is reading a newspaper. The headline says, India's Mars mission. It is shown as a man with a cow. India is shown as a man with a cow knocking on the door. I'm sure you'll agree that this is racist and in very poor taste. I'm sure you've seen the cartoon before, including on this show.
So I'll stop right there, because when I saw that, obviously I've been speaking to you guys for so long now, and I've learned so much from you, and it's amazing, because anyone can just go and watch videos, but it's always so amazing to hear people's perspective. We don't all have to agree. We can all agree to disagree, but it's beautiful to share different points of view. Now, when I was watching this, I felt so angered for you guys. Like this is so disrespectful. I mean, I've seen this cartoon before, of course, but honestly, obviously, when something like that is being put out, right, people are looking for sensationalism, like what we just talked about with the American professor. They just wanted to sell, but like, to put it in the New York Times, it's just, yeah, it is just so out of order. It is so discriminatory. I have no words. Like, I think that, let's say, if someone, I might have my own views on my own country, but if someone was being so disrespectful, I can feel you guys, and I think I would really not like it one single bit. But let's continue, and I'll try to hold my comments towards the end.
We've been asking for an updated version. Will the New York Times publish something that is more in tune with reality? We're not holding our breath for a response, because the West is back to playing its old games, discrediting India's achievements and questioning India's motives. Let me lay out the facts first. Chandrayaan-3 is an Indian mission in space. It is the world's first to land on the moon's south pole. This is a fact. As we speak, the Pragyan rover is out exploring, looking for traces of water. This too is a fact. Also a matter of pride for India, a big achievement for science and a gift to the world. But how have they responded? With skepticism, condescension, and their trademark hypocrisy. Listen to this.
As they spend their money on space probes, as they spend their money on the military, they spend their money on nuclear weapons, still half of the country lives below the poverty line. But the biggest injustice of all...
That was Nigel Farage, the man who heralded Brexit, a politician known for his scandals and his hypocrisy. He says India is wasting money on space missions. Why? Because half of its population lives in poverty. The racism is shining through. Also, the utter disconnect with reality. We are happy to share some facts with Mr. Farage. It may have slipped his notice that India is the world's 5th largest economy. It is, in fact, ahead of his country, the United Kingdom. But it seems he can't get rid of his colonial mindset. I mean, how can poor India have aspirations? How can a former colony reach the moon before the so-called Great Britain? And since he's so keen on discussing priorities, we have a question for him. Why does Britain keep paying for the royal family? Their citizens cannot afford their electricity bills. Maybe help them. instead of paying for the king and his retinue. Let me show you another bizarre comment. This is from a man called Patrick Christie's. He calls himself a journalist, and this is what he said.
Congratulate India on landing on the dark side of the moon. I would also like to now invite India to return the £2.3 billion foreign aid money that we sent them between 2016 and 2021. We're also set to give them £57 million next year, but I think the British taxpayer should keep hold of that, don't you? We should not be giving money to countries with a space programme. As a rule, if you can afford to fire a rocket at the dark side of the moon, you shouldn't be coming to us with your hand out.
You heard him. If you can afford to fire a rocket, you shouldn't be coming to us with your hand out for foreign aid. Those were his words. But is India going to the UK for foreign aid? Let's have the answer from their own Foreign Office. This is what they said, and I'm quoting. Since 2015, the UK has given no financial aid to the government of India. Most of our funding now is focused on business investments, which help create new markets and jobs for the UK as well as India. This is what their Foreign Office has said. Christie's also mentioned a figure, £2.3 billion. What about that? It's from a report by the UK aid spending watchdog ICAI, and Patrick Christie's clearly did not read the whole report, but we did it for him. The figure is not foreign aid. It includes investments and revenue through multilateral channels. The same report notes that this aid is a tool of UK foreign policy, basically a way to stay in New Delhi's good books. Also, no one is begging for it. But who will explain that to the West? In their mind, this is still the Raj. And these are comments that would have made Churchill happy. But we are happy to burst their bubble. This is the 21st century. India is a global power, not a former impoverished colony. In 2011, then Finance Minister of India, Pranab Mukherjee, told the UK that India does not need its aid. And London admitted that the aid had no impact on India's development. Now, India has landed on the moon, and British influencers say, return our aid money. If you're going down that road, let's start with reparations. Let's start with the colonial loot. Return that money first. And we have the bill. Some $45 trillion. That's what Britain looted from India between 1765 and 1938. And this is just an estimate. The actual figure could be much higher. But even this 45 trillion is about 15 times Britain's GDP. How about London returns this money first? Instead of discrediting India's achievement with juvenile conspiracy theories, look at this one now. It says, India faked the moon landing. What do you even say to this? I don't have a rebuttal, just this video. It shows the Pragyan rover rolling out of the lander, moving on the surface of the moon, leaving India's mark literally and creating history. We know all of this. We don't need validation from the West or cartoons from their press. But we must set the record straight. We need to take control of our stories, we say, else we'll be held hostage to narratives created by others. We'll be trapped in their version of our truth.
Wow. Okay, let me just stop sharing. Okay. So where do we start? Or maybe I shouldn't stop sharing because I just kind of wanted to go like kind of one by one. Nigel Farage, you guys, I left in the UK when Brexit happened. I could not, like, in the morning when I took out my phone, I could not believe that this was actually true. Now, I wasn't really following English politics because I don't care. Like, I lived there, but, you know, I was always in international community. I don't care. But this man has promised, like, some ridiculous, I think $10 billion, pounds for their NHS. You know, the NHS is the only healthcare system which is so bad. Gosh, I just said it, whatever. That every time, like in my almost 2 decades, it hasn't been 2 decades, but like living in the UK, I would always come home to Slovakia for healthcare because NHS is that poor. So he promised stuff. And what I'm like, and he was the big voice behind Brexit and was promising a lot of things to people. But also, you know, there were people, even like there was this big discussion about being educated or uneducated for Brexit, but it has nothing to do with education. It has everything to do with how they perceive themselves. And they still, I think, this may be my wild guess, perceive themselves as a big empire. I think that's how their identity was built on. And I was told by a lawyer in like really huge company, international in fact, but English by origin, that he doesn't want to be part of United States of Europe. So look, there are people like Farage out there that will be claiming stuff. And what I want to tell you is like not to listen to them. Nigel Farage really does have a very, very minor voice. I think that he's now even out of politics. So he's not a person to listen to. I don't think English people listen to him. So that's the point number one. And yeah, and Colin, she was talking about like him and colonial mindset. I think through what I mentioned, I think they are still very proud. And if you dare to say to them, like, are you proud I'm going around the world, like, you know, looting and enslaving people? Is that an accomplishment? You know, that's not something that they would want to hear. So, gosh, I will have to take this video down after like a day because this can get me in trouble. And yeah, I don't think, and then, you know, people that are, I think, leading, and that's, okay, that's maybe a wild generalization, but a lot of them are going to these elite and posh colleges. Do you really think that they are teaching them the impact of, you know, like whatever you guys know, whatever they've done about Bengal famine, and, you know, they don't, like, no one knows this, like no one, you know, so they think that they're educated. They have the best education usually. Like the people in the parliament, they've gone to like really good universities and colleges. So they believe that their education system is the best, and they're telling them the truth, right? So this is kind of what you're fighting with, and this is perhaps why you get maybe the arrogance. And also with this guy called Patrick, I mean, he's just flat out deluded. Like, and this is brilliantly coming to my previous point where like they just don't know. Like, you guys, I learned so much from you. It's like, it's been so shocking for me on so many levels. And but people don't know. This is not like what we're being taught. And I think education system is in the West generally going down the drain. So, and then, you know, but again, to the point of, you know, the video from American professor, like he just wanted the Potter guy to be sensational, you know, like, you know, putting sensationalist news is going to create something viral, is going to get him a better job, better pay. That's it, you guys. That's it. I wish I could tell you that there is more depth to it, but there really isn't. There really isn't. So yeah, I'm just like looking at my notes. Sorry. I love how she started with the reparations and stuff like that. But an ordinary English person does not know these things. They really don't. But I see where you're coming from when you know all of these things, and then people are preaching and they have the audacity to go and say these things. That doesn't sit well. I can totally feel you there, right? But what I really want you to know is that there is a lack of knowledge. Obviously, history, as we know, is written by the winners. So people just don't know. And I think it's good to own your narratives. Although, as I mentioned many times, people just really care about their lives. They don't really care much about other countries until they do something super, perhaps prominent, something like perhaps what, you know, the landing on the moon has been. But I would not see it being a topic of discussions in the UK, for example, and it would not surprise me if people, like ordinary people, like I'm not saying media, because we saw it together, BBC had it live. But you know, that would not be a topic of discussion. So I really struggled to see that happen. Like, I lived in London for a really, really long time. I actually lived all over the UK, but yeah. So I think it's important to fight the narrative in a way, but it's also important to approach it from the point of view where you know where you're, like I mentioned in my last video, in the what is the playing field. You have to accept that people just don't know, and you're fighting the media essentially. Right, there was perhaps something else that I wanted to mention, but because you don't want me to react throughout the video, then I forget my thoughts, and then I just don't even know what I wanted to say. Yeah, I mean, it's just so funny for the Patrick guy to talk about like something that will benefit humanity, and this is where, again, I'm going back to the egotistical part of the world where I live in. And you know, like, perhaps because Britain wasn't the first, he didn't even know that Britain, you know, you guys help. There was this cooperation project between ISRO and I don't know the name of the company that supported with this reaching satellites to the orbit. I mean, he was clearly oblivious to all of that. And yeah, there is a lot of ignorance in the West. It is, I'm sure, it is just not nice to hear. But the examples of people picked there, they do not matter. I want you to know that these people do not matter. No one listens to them. So as much as perhaps unsettling this is, I don't, like, I would not, you know, obviously dwell on it. I'm sure you guys are like, oh, whatever. But I just kind of wanted to emphasize that the voices of these people are not really heard anywhere. So yeah, I think I know that there was something else I wanted to say, but I'm not too sure what anymore. But I guess this will be it for today's video. Again, you guys, you've done such a great job. You know, getting to the moon, amazing. I would ignore anything that says fake news, like exactly what she has said. Like, what do you even say to that? And to discredit all the people that actually worked on it. Bizarre. Never mind. Let's keep positive. Let's not give power to people that have no voice in the West, if you like, no voice. And I want to conclude this video with sending you so much love and congratulating you again on a great success. And please do share and subscribe to this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, please do take care. Bye-bye.